right, good morning. We're doing it. We're doing the big live show here in Uptown New Albany. I am meteorologist Ben Peine, Peine, right there. And so thanks for joining me on my weather page, on my Facebook page, or Extol Weather on Facebook, Extol Media on YouTube. Thanks for liking or subscribing. And extolmag.com/weather is where we're up live streaming as well. It is Ben at 10. It is your local weather show for Southern Indiana and beyond. So please, even if you're just watching the replay, drop in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. And we are watching on a sunny start to the day. We are getting used to that September sunshine across the area. So the goal today is to kind of like look far and wide and just see where we can find maybe a rain chance as the drought conditions will be worsening with not much precipitation in that long range outlook. And we've had these cool nights thanks to this very dry air. So at nighttime, we can very efficiently cool down. And then we're going to start to heat up. We'll have some dry heat on the way as we head towards around 90 later on this week. So we'll talk about that. We'll look at the long range forecast, which the goal is to look for a little bit of rain, but also we'll take a look at the temperatures and will humidity return eventually with this heat. And that, when we look out at the long range, is the good old Ben on a limb segment. So cheers to you. Good morning. Again, we are live here. There's Big Happy with the no sugar, no cream. It's just straight up regular old coffee here this morning. So let's bring up the weather headlines here for you as we start to get that first peek of the forecast. And then here shortly, we'll dive deep into the forecast, look at the 7-day and beyond. And then around 10:20, if you're a regular viewer, you know that's when we start to dig into the weather model data and start to really look ahead. So as always, we'll have your stupid weather jokes, your weather history, and we'll make it fun here this morning. So here we go with a look at the weather headlines here to get you started for your September the 9th. Sunny and warmer. It's been a few weeks since we hit 90, so that might be coming later this week, especially by the weekend as our dry weather pattern continues, and maybe more humid next week as we begin to see the dew points heading back into the 60s next week. For today, just a lot of sunshine. Grab that sunscreen, the sunglasses. 74 at noon, 81 for the afternoon high, which is still a tad below normal. And it will still feel pretty good because of the humidity staying low. 73 at 8 p.m. And you notice when we get that sun setting, those temperatures drop off pretty rapidly too. So another night where we can have some free AC as we'll fall back down to the 50s, even after highs in the 80s, in a light southeast breeze. And I used to get that a lot when we lived in Augusta, Georgia, because a lot of times the air would be so dry. You might wake up with temperatures in the 60s and it will head way into the 90s, like a 30, 40 degree warm up. When you have that dry air in place, you can have a bigger temperature spread. And that's the pattern that we're in right now with, again, that very dry air in place. So there it is. There's a quick peek at your forecast, and then going to bring up also some of your comments. And then we will look at all the weather information as well. So just going to bring up here a mention that you can always get your weather resources. We've got our live stream up. If I hit the refresh button right there, just hit play and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Interactive radar, 3-day forecast, 7-day forecast, your weather story, drought monitor, no severe weather threat with the day 1 or day 2 outlook, no severe weather watches or warnings, very quiet September pattern that we're in. And there's the big interactive radar as you go to the bottom portion of extolmag.com/weather, popping up those temperatures. Latest reports in the 50s and 60s across the region. So just beautiful. And it's going to be almost no wind out there for today. A very peaceful day across the area. And here is a live look with the Falls of the Ohio Foundation.org camera there along the fossil beds of the Ohio River. So again, just brilliant sunshine across the area, sun-drenched, as they call it sometimes. So gorgeous conditions all throughout Indiana and Kentucky this morning. Hey, you guessed it. The first comment popping in here from Beverly Haggis. Good morning there from Borden, Indiana. Orlean coming up to the top of some of the first comments. We've got Orlean Whitlow. Good morning. A beautiful day again. What do you think October is going to look like? My favorite month of the year. I think October might act like October. We are having these regular shots of dry air from Canada. we get rid of the 90s in October. The latest we hit 90 is October 15th. Can't rule out a 90-degree day in October, but typically your 90 in October is going to be a dry heat anyway. So we'll see how it goes, but right now I don't see anything too out of the normal, and maybe we'll continue to get these shots of cool air throughout the month of autumn. But when you're looking that far out, a month ahead, you still never know. Vicky Berger, good morning to you there from Salem, Indiana. Dennis Gregory up from Bedford. Happy with those temperatures. Yeah, it's feeling amazing in the morning time, especially. My Morning Jacket, famous Louisville band, and that's the weather pattern we're in. You need that morning jacket and then shorts and T-shirts in the afternoon. Semi-desert kind of weather pattern where you cool off at night and you have warmer days. And Diana Piney, my stepmom, looking forward to tennis tomorrow. Yeah, we got a matchup with Henryville at Borden. Looking forward to that. Should be great weather for that. And a good morning from neighbor Keith, Tennessee. Good morning to you and Perry Porter, just down the road as well in Borden. Another awesome day. You got it. Thanks for popping in the comments, guys. All right, Beverly, we'll miss you tomorrow. Won't be the first one on, getting some of that blood work done. Hopefully everything comes back just fine for you, of course. And let me get a few announcements, and then we will be moving right along. I want to thank Lions Roofing, by the way, for hosting us, Jason Applegate and myself, out at Covered Bridge yesterday. If you were watching live, Extol Unfiltered, we were showing some of our golf shots out there. So we got fourth place, I believe. But a huge event out there at Covered Bridge for Graceland Athletics. Lions Roofing, thanks for having us out there. Family-owned company, and they can protect your most valuable asset for a lifetime, that being your home. Get free estimates here, 812-294-3595. And a shout-out to my buddy Michael Long. I think we might be playing in a scramble a little bit later this month, too. A lot of good golf this time of year and phenomenal weather for it. Proud to be an American Star Certified Agency Excellence in Customer Experience. They've actually had rate drops with their car insurance. So if you want to get a quote, tell him I sent you, 812-578-3072. And you can go to his landing page here, amfam.com, and find ways to message him and get some more information there, too. A lot of opportunities, as always, here at libspaving.com. That's L-I-B, B as in Ben, S, paving.com. Again, family-owned right here out of the Knobs, the largest asphalt paving contractor around. Head to their careers section, and then you can see the available opportunities that they have for you, maybe a family member or a friend. Give them a look here, and you can apply right there online. And you can level up your career anytime here. They've got 8-week sessions throughout the year. We're in the first fall session that began on August 25th. There's a second fall session you can sign up for and get that post-secondary education going. And they've got a bunch of 2-year programs, and they have a little update to their website, but you can also go to the Sellersburg location. You belong here. Again, they're going to meet you where you're at, whether it's high school or whether you're in your 40s or 50s and you want to make a change or you want to get started. And today is Tuesday. Tuesdays at the Tech, where you can get in-person assistance, one-on-one information about how to register for classes, career development, paying for college. You can register right there. So give them a look out at ivytech.edu and just go to location Sellersburg, right there, 9 miles north of Louisville. Easy to do right there. All right, moving right along here as we bring up the radar and satellite. Look how quiet it is. So as we look at the analysis here of what's going on and why our weather is so quiet, we've got a big sprawling area of high pressure up here in New England, and it's strong enough and sprawling out enough that we have been getting this northeast breeze. Today, that airflow is going to be very light up from the southeast. But either way, that area of high pressure, that is sinking air in the atmosphere. When that airflow goes down, you clear out the sky. Low pressure, obviously the opposite. The air is going up, and where we have low pressure up here on the edge of the high pressure, that's where you can get clouds to build and you can get rain. So high pressure, happy sunshine. Low pressure, as I tell the kids when I do a school talk, that's your I guess lousy weather. But some of us would want some of that lousy weather, as it has been just too dry across the area. We've got a good morning here from Lily and Lasley. Beautiful day. Yeah, we're getting spoiled here. sometimes you get too much of a good thing, and then you're talking about drought, of course, and maybe the potential of some burn bans in some counties you got to watch out for too. So Alice Young with a good morning. Thanks for tuning in here, Alice. And real quick before we, again, deep dive into that forecast, just a reminder here too, if you have any weather questions or you want to join us with marketing or advertising, you want to see your business logo up on our weather maps, you can do that very easily. Just email me, ben@extolmag.com, jason@extolmag.com. Either one of us will get right back to you. So here's the forecast. In case you missed it, the weather headlines: sunny and a little bit warmer today. We've had 4 days in the 70s this month, and we've had 4 days in the 80s, where if you average it all out, we're running about 6 degrees below normal for the month of September. And we haven't had any 90s since August 19th, 3 weeks ago. So we've been cooler than normal for a while here, and this dry weather pattern continues on and on and on. And again, when we look at the long-range outlook, we'll try to find any rain chance, which is going to be very small, even if we find it. So we kind of need, this time of year, a tropical system to come out of the Gulf and then eventually give us a good soaker. That's sometimes we'll get a drought buster that way, but there's no activity in the tropics right now. Near 90 this weekend with a dry heat on the way, and then it might turn a little bit more humid next week. Again, the play ball forecast, just a bit warmer out there today, but low humidity and just a very light breeze, 81 for that high temperature. So it's now time for your weather jokes. What's the difference between weather and climate? You can't weather a tree, but you can climb it. My cat seems to like stormy weather. When it rains, it purrs. I messed that one up. When it rains, it purrs. I'm going to give that one like a 3 out of 10. All right. I won gold at weather forecasting event yesterday. I beat the reigning champion. These were very punny today. I think the first one was the best, and I'm going to give these overall. Feel free to drop in your score, 1 out of 10 on the weather jokes today. I'm going to give these 6 out of 10, in the delivery about a 4 out of 10. I didn't do my best on the delivery, but there's your weather jokes for today. And Lillian Lousley coming in with 64 degrees at her house. Thanks for the live update there, Lillian. In today's weather history, again, a lot of this is revolving around tropical stuff because we are now in September, the peak of tropical weather. But interesting, it goes way back. 1775, the Hurricane of Independence, though possibly 2 separate storms, battered coastal areas of North Carolina and Nova Scotia from August 27th to September 9th. That is a long time. It is believed that over 4,000 people died in the storms. Newfoundland was hit the hardest. 400 men were lost at sea. Crazy. 1821, again up in New England, one of the most prolific tornado outbreaks for them, a half-mile wide Great New Hampshire tornado killed 6, devastated areas like Lake Sunapee and Mount Kearsarge. I might be messing that up a little bit. Huge hailstones filled with grass and gravel fell on the Hudson Valley. And then 1921, Thrall, Texas set a U.S. record for rainfall in 18 hours, 36 inches from the remnants of the season's second hurricane, which moved northward from the Bay of Campeche. 1964, Hurricane Dora, one of the few hurricanes to strike the extreme northeast part of Florida. 1965, Hurricane Betsy slammed into New Orleans, 110-mile-per-hour winds. And finally, in Indiana, 1985, severe thunderstorm winds knocked down trees and power lines in Hamilton and Marion counties. A car is demolished when a tree falls on it. So, again, a lot of tropical stuff. Although, with our tropical update today, things are rather quiet. And, in fact, I can bring up the very quick tropical update from the National Hurricane Center. And so this is peak activity. Well, it should be. And notice there, from the National Hurricane Center, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. That'll take us into the peak of hurricane season. So that's a good thing, but things are quiet for now. Although we're getting up to near record warmth in the tropics once again as it heats back up. All right, so things quiet in the tropics for now. And how many days until? Today are before 8 p.m. sunsets. So the sun angle is getting lower and lower in the sky. 7:59 sunset today. Autumn begins in 13 days. And I don't think we get past 8 p.m. sunsets again until maybe, like late April, May? I'd have to look up the exact date. Average highs in the 70s in 15 days. In a couple weeks, average highs in the 60s in 40 days. So if you've been paying attention, day by day, we've been watching this countdown go lower and lower here. So Laverne Bannett, good morning from the Knobs. Thanks for tuning in here. And looking ahead with our allergy report, we've got high levels of that ragweed. Could be impacting many of us if you're sneezing a little bit. I've been sneezing like crazy lately. Our forecast today, that is the background image is a live look from my cabin view, by the way. 81 degrees here for your September the 9th, just a bit warmer than their last several days in the 70s. But again, a feel-good 81 with that low humidity, a light southeast breeze, and our sunset at 7:59. Your forecast tonight, we can keep the windows open, listening to the bugs out there while we have them. They often go away right after our first frost, which is typically in October. Clear and cool tonight. Moonrise, I mentioned here because we had the full moon, the corn moon, a couple nights ago. But it's still pretty bright. I think it's about 95% full, the moon right now. So we're having some bright nights. So the not full moon, but a full-ish moon at 8:59, and the wind is calm. Here's your forecast tomorrow for your September 10th, our hump day, 58 out the door, 78 at noon, and 85 for the afternoon. So again, maybe a light morning jacket and then shorts and T-shirts in the afternoon. Normal high is 84, so we're right about on target for tomorrow before we go above normal later this week. Sun up at 7:20 and setting at 7:58 for tomorrow. Here is that 7-day forecast. 85 for tomorrow, 88 for Thursday, Friday, near 90 Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I've just put the wording on Monday and Tuesday. Depending on what kind of screen you're watching with, you might not be able to quite see it, but this is isolated. Barely seeing any kind of little tiny rain chance there. And then like Thursday night, there was a little bit of a blip as a disturbance moves through, but just such a small rain chance, really can't put really much of a precip chance on this 7-day forecast. Now, before we get into the weather model data is 10:17, so usually about 10:20 we start to dig into the weather models. I just want to give a tribute and a dedication on this Bennett 10 to my Aunt Cindy, who passed away a few days ago. I just want to thank you all for the hundreds of comments of support I got on my page, and also she has survived, and it's been a tough time for my mom, her sister, and my grandma, her mom, survived also by her husband Mike and my cousins Jason and Ryan. And again, as I mentioned on my Facebook post, Aunt Cindy was often the fun, cool aunt, always very funny, and got to do a lot of the first things in my life, like water skiing and jumping on a trampoline and things like that. So I got to live with her for a few months back in around 1989. So just a shout out to my Aunt Cindy, who spent the last decades in a beautiful spot, by the way, in Central California there around the San Francisco Bay Area. So got to visit her a couple times out there. All right, as we dig into, again, thank you very much for all the comments of support with that. And here is a look at the big national coast-to-coast, border-to-border radar and satellite across the region. And again, sprawling area of high pressure dominating our region. As we back out of the full screen mode, I'm going to go ahead and, what should we look at first? I think we should look at when might the air mass change? Will the humidity go up? We want to try to find a rain chance. So I guess let's start with rain chance first, and then maybe when it will become a little more uncomfortable, and then we'll look at the Climate Prediction Center and see what is going to be happening for basically the rest of this month. So first off, we'll bring up future radar, and we're not going to look at the high resolution data because that is just going to be all dry. There's just nothing to show. So we'll bring up the GFS weather model, which is the American weather model that shows us the long range data. Now, as I mentioned Thursday, so on the 11th, there was maybe like a little tiny disturbance that might come through. And this is Thursday evening, Thursday night. I doubt this will happen because of how dry the air is at the surface. But if you look closely here, there's a little blip of green as this little disturbance moves through in kind of the mid-level of the atmosphere. We call it a short wave. As that moves through, we might get a few extra clouds Thursday night and maybe a sprinkle out of it. But I think most areas are going to stay dry. So that's why I didn't even put it on the 7-day forecast. I just think you can see that there's not much happening with that. Now, as we go into the weekend, we'll go Saturday 13th and 14th. There's just not going to be much to show as the active weather stays off to our north here. This is Saturday afternoon. It tries to get kind of close with a tiny rain chance, like central Indiana out to our west, and those are very small rain chances. So still keeping it dry this weekend. Looking hour by hour here into Sunday afternoon. That shows all dry conditions across the region. Going into our Monday, the 15th, it is all dry across the region. So let's go to Tuesday, the 16th. And there's no blips on the GFS. So all dry there. So now we are just on the search for anything to pop up. So that we're going into next. So this is late Tuesday, trying to show maybe a pop-up shower. Now we're going to Wednesday the 17th, so a little over a week away. And there's just not much to show. The old saying is, when in drought, it's hard to get out. So that's kind of the weather pattern that we are in right now. And Vicky, the wind should stay very light all week long. There's not much of any systems nearby, so I think you're in pretty good shape for that. Eventually, I should probably put some weed and feed out for the lawn, but hey, so there's a rain chance. That's on the 17th, so the middle of next week. So perhaps around that time, we will start to get a rain chance around the region as it gets a bit more humid as well. So on that topic of humidity, let's bring up the dew point, the measure of water content in the air. But let's back it up here. We'll go back to, say, Saturday the 13th. And we still have pretty dry air in place. So kind of a dry heat that we have with dew points in the 50s. So a friendly 90 or near 90 Saturday. And let me clear that off. And we'll go into our Sunday the 14th. And these dew points still aren't that bad. You still overall have drier air than normal across the area. Once you get into the 60s dew points, that's when you can start to feel the humidity, but 70s dew points are when it really feels muggy. But let's go into Monday, the 15th, and we're starting to we might start to feel just a bit more humid across the area with dew points in the 60s, and then we go into the 17th on a Tuesday. Not crazy, not tropical. Definitely not tropical. The tropical air is still down in the tropics, in the Gulf, and in the Atlantic. This is just a little more humid, I would call it. And as we go into the 17th, so it's showing a rain chance here on Wednesday the 17th. Starting to show some 60s dew points, which, again, a little bit humid. Nothing crazy like we had in July and part of August. So just a little more humid there. And then what do we see if we go farther down? So we'll go to the 18th. Still not crazy. Still not crazy. We'll go to let's go to the 20th. It's not bad. Dew points are not bad even through the 20th. And then there was perhaps after some heat over the next week or two, there is another front trying to carve out that Canadian air, showing dew points even in the 30s. That's around the 21st of September. It's September. And then the 22nd is when fall officially begins. So this is looking at the 22nd of August with a front moving through, perhaps. This is way down the line here. This is, a couple weeks out? A little less than a couple weeks out. Who knows? Maybe right on time for the first day of autumn, fall, we get another front to move through. And with that front, we look at the temperatures. And it would just bring more feel-good weather to the area after maybe a stretch of some hotter weather that begins this weekend. We'll go ahead and clear that out of the way. And let's go. We're going to keep the temperatures on here. I'm going to go to this weekend. Sunday afternoon. So there you go. It's showing some 90s, even hotter out west. I'll go ahead and bring this up full screen for you. So this is a look at our Sunday. Again, up around 90 degrees or so. So that begins a summer-like pattern. So what does the Climate Prediction Center have to say about all of this? As we look at the 6 to 10-day outlook, we're looking at it together for the first time here. And so we are in this portion that has pretty good confidence of above normal temperatures through the next 10 days. The cooler air off to the east now and to the southwest. What about the 8 to 14-day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center? And it also shows things heating up across much of the United States. So for us, looks like we're going to be going above normal. Our normal highs will be starting to slide down to the upper 70s, low 80s here later in September. And our actual temperatures, the forecast, up around 90 degrees. So we're going to be going above normal, but the humidity is not going to be crazy. Kind of a September dry heat for our area with limited rain chances, as we saw through the long range outlook as well. All right, let's get a little. We haven't had Big Happy on the show here very much. Get a little coffee break there. Vicki, you're very welcome. Happy to answer any questions. If you have any weather questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or just say hello from where you're watching from. Tammy Morton with a good morning there from Vicki as well. Thank you all for tuning in here this morning. All right, so we've I'm going to drop that comment off there, and we've been looking at the long-range outlook, which has been meaning that while we would like to look at the long-range outlook and knowing that things can change, but always nice to take a peek. There have been times we've looked a couple weeks out, and it actually does happen like the long-range weather models say. So the long range here over the next week or two is above normal, getting a bit hot, some September heat, not too crazy humidity, and still a mostly dry outlook. One thing we haven't checked out here is total precipitation. Let's see how well of a job this will do. So this is going to be the GFS weather model, and we need to bring up the total precipitation. And I'm going to go out to, let's go out to Monday the 15th. And I don't think we're going to see that much. But basically what this shows here, actually, let's go out to Tuesday. That'll be a week worth of precipitation. So again, high pressure overall dominating and giving us really dry conditions over the Ohio Valley, the eastern United States, and the deep south as well. So as we zoom in here to our area, let me clear that little drawing out of the way and clear out that. So it's showing either over the next week, nothing or almost nothing. That's showing like 0.1 inches. So the GFS for a couple, it had just a couple green blips there. But when you have the dry air at the surface, it's hard in drought conditions. It's hard to get that to touch the ground with such a little disturbance moving through. So that disturbance we're talking about was like Thursday evening, maybe a sprinkle chance. I bet it will just be virga, evaporating precipitation if we get any. So tiny, tiny rain over the next week. And then we can go out the entire model run, which takes us to September 25th, a few days after fall begins. And so this would be your rain over the next more than 2 weeks. And that's not enough to really do anything to a drought. This shows 1/2 of an inch of rain over more than 2 weeks. And that might be overdoing it as well. In fact, if you look off to the east, the 2-week rain amounts over parts of the Appalachians and parts of Texas showing no accumulation of precipitation. over more than 2 weeks out. So this is the very end of the GFS weather model. This is 384 hours out to September 25th, and it shows half-inch or less of rainfall. So keeping the sprinklers going if you want to try to keep that yard green. September, October, known to be very dry months, so this is not too out of the normal. But anyway, that is the precipitation total over the next 16 days or so. All right, bringing it back home, we'll look at your forecast here for today. Here are your weather headlines for your September 9th. We've got a good morning from Jeanette Pierce from Litchfield, Kentucky. Thanks for watching there. Sunny and warmer today as we hit around 80 degrees. Humidity stays low with this dry pattern, as we just saw with the weather models. Near 90 degrees this weekend, and more humidity start to climb a little bit next week. I wouldn't call it muggy, though, just a little bit more humid. The play ball forecast here for today, just a bit warmer, 74 at noon, 81 this afternoon with a 0% chance of rain, lots of sunshine, and just a light southeast breeze. We did our weather jokes a little bit earlier. I gave them like a 6 out of 10. What's the difference between weather and climate? You can't weather a tree, but you can climb it. My cat seems to like stormy weather. When it rains, it purrs. I won gold at a weather forecasting event yesterday. I beat the reigning champion. All right, we're moving on. Beverly Haggis, Lanesville is starting their Heritage Festival on Thursday. So, yeah, we'll just have some dry heat and a lot of sunshine. Always a fun event out there. One time I was a judge at their parade. So always a good time. Very beautiful town there in the valley. Today's weather history, 1775, Hurricane of Independence battered coastal areas of North Carolina up to Nova Scotia. Back in late August and September, over 4,000 people died and 400 men lost at sea. 1821, one of New England's most prolific tornado outbreaks, half-mile wide, Great New Hampshire tornado killed 6, devastated areas around that area. Hailstones reported to be filled with grass and gravel. 1921, U.S. recorded in Texas the U.S. record rainfall in 18 hours, 36 inches of rain. And had Hurricane Dora, 1964, Hurricane Betsy, 1965, and some severe thunderstorm warnings did some damage in Hamilton and Marion counties in 1985. Heading into the peak of hurricane season here in September, but it is quiet for now. No activity expected over the next 7 days. So today on our countdown begins the 7:59 p.m. sunsets. Autumn begins in 13 days and average highs typically in the 70s in 15 days, average highs in the 60s in 40 days. And ragweed might be bothering you. It is at a high level. And your forecast today for your Tuesday, September the 9th, 81 degrees, just a bit warmer than the last 70s we had the last few days. Light southeast breeze, sunset 7:59. Clear and cool tonight. So, again, we can have these big temperature differences, cool at night and very warm in the afternoon because of the dry air. So you can really heat up. Not desert climate, but semi-desert, kind of. 58 for tonight, clear and cool. Moonrise, not full, but it's 95% full. So it will be another bright night with the moon rising right at 9 p.m. and calm tonight. Tomorrow, September 10th, 58 out the door, 78 at noon, and warming to 85 tomorrow afternoon. Normal high 84, so a bit above that. And here's that 7-day forecast, 85 tomorrow. We got 88 back-to-back Thursday and Friday, near 90 for the weekend, but a fairly dry heat, still cool-ish at nighttime with upper 50s and 60s, and then hovering near 90 Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And again, the humidity not out of control there as well. All right, we've got the forecast in here for you. And one more thing I want to bring up before we wrap it up on a very quiet Tuesday, terrific Tuesday, is if you have any weather questions, feel free to reach out to me, or if you want to join us, you want to see your business logo, your organization logo on our weather products, Extol Weather, Extol Media. We've got a bunch of platforms. We're reaching up around 80, 90,000 people with our followers and over 1 million views per month. Ben at extolmag.com, Jason at extolmag.com will help get your word out there and be your megaphone throughout Southern Indiana and beyond. And I do want to give another shout out to our partners, which they make it all happen. We can be here because of them. So a big thank you to Lions Roofing, who had us out at a golf scramble at Covered Bridge yesterday. Had a great time out there. I think we got 4th place out of a bunch of teams. They had a morning flight and an afternoon flight, but either way, had a great time with them. Family-owned company out of Southern Indiana, out of Memphis. They got you covered on both sides of the river. If you have any roofing questions, you can fill out that form right there at lionsroofingco.com, or you can give them a call, 812-294-3595. And you can also reach out if you have any roofing issues, damage around your home or whatever. And you can reach out to Michael Long. Or if you want to get a car quote or different types of insurance, tell him I sent you. Michael Long here at amfam.com, 812-578-3072. Proud to be an American Star certified agency, excellence in customer service. Many job opportunities here as well at libspaving.com. You go to project manager, you click learn more. You can apply for the job right there. You can also, of course, learn more about the job summary, the duty, the responsibilities, and their values, benefits, all that good stuff right there. Tuesdays at the Tech. It is Tuesday. That's where you can register and get more information about Ivy Tech at their campus right there, I-65 exit 9, and how to get started, register for classes, career development, paying for college. They've got a great staff there with their instructors and administration, very friendly folks that can really help you out. Just go to locations here at ivytech.edu, click on Sellersburg. You can find out a whole lot more there. So they're in their first fall session now. There'll be another fall session coming up not too long from now, and so you can always, they have these rotating 8-week classes and over 42 programs offered, so check that out there. Live look outside with the falls of the ohiofoundation.org camera, and it looks like they got a class out there, maybe a little field trip at the very bottom, looking at some of the fossil beds. Good morning to do that, especially with the low level of the river. You need to go down there and check that out, take some pictures. Reminder, you can also get all of your weather resources here at extolmag.com/weather. Of course, we've got our live stream up right now on the page, which is right there. Thanks for liking, subscribing on our YouTube channel at EXTOL Media. Type that into your YouTube search and then like and subscribe. We got our 7-day forecast up, weather stories, interactive radar, and a lot more tools right there. So thanks for following us there or on Extol Weather on Facebook, Meteorologist Ben Peine on Facebook, and a lot of ways to pop us up on the live stream. I think we got one more comment before we wrap things up here. We've got Vicky popping in with Salem beat Borden last night in volleyball. Wow, because Borden beat Salem, I think, in a tournament earlier this year. And then you guys play dub tonight, 3 games a week for 3 weeks. Busy. So congrats to Salem last night. My daughter played on Borden all through high school, but she's now obviously in college. So thank you for the sports update, Vicky Berger. And congrats to Kennedy, too. And Lillian Lasley with a good job. Thank you for tuning in there. And I hope you guys have a good Tuesday. We'll see you on a Wednesday tomorrow. We'll try to fine-tune any future rain chances if they start to pop up in the long-range data. Otherwise, we're just enjoying a very quiet weather pattern. I probably need to get my butt busy and start chopping wood, doing some things around the yard, getting things looking good for the fall season since the weather is so nice. So eventually I need to get that inspiration to get some things done. All right. No more being lazy for me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here on this Tuesday, September the 9th. And we will see you next time, tomorrow morning, same time, same place. We'll see you then.